Good morning, Karl. Thanks so much for taking the time to be a guest here on Insights. I appreciate it. We've been, I'll say friends, because I consider you a very dear friend. We've known each other for more than 10 years. And I was wondering if you could share with our viewers a little bit about project management innovations and how your organization got started.
Dave, thanks so much for having me. Delighted to be here and to talk about, I guess, myself, but project management innovations and what we provide to clients. I've been in the paint and coatings business, or had been, for over 30 years. I started out as a chemist, a formulation chemist, worked my way into quality assurance, partnering with QC and research and development, troubleshooting in factories. And then I got into operations and worked as a plant supervisor after an acquisition where product was consolidated from 3 different factories. And then over the next few years, after joining operations, then I was fortunate to work on several projects over the balance of my career, various companies, able to live in 5 different countries. And my passion is those projects. I've been a plant manager, chemist, quality assurance. And what I learned in all of those roles is the working with different teams, bridging communication gaps. Some people call them silos with the different parts of the organization, and then applying that to the project. There's things that have to be done when managing a project, dealing with stakeholders, various different people that are associated with the project. So all of those skills that I learned over those years, then I can apply to projects. So come 2019, I saw the opportunity to be able to focus all of my energy into projects, which is where my passion is, and being able to focus on clients and helping them, was really what I wanted to do. So I left corporate life, set up Project Management Innovations in 2020 as an LLC, and now it's 2023, and I'm delighted to still be working with clients all over the world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know you and I have worked on a few projects together, and it's been a lot of fun. Your knowledge, your experience, and just your rapport with people has been a huge asset in our being able to get some pretty challenging projects completed. When we talk about projects, Karl, what size projects are you working with? How do you scale that?
This information is on my website, but if I look back over those 30 years, we're looking at a total value of 32 million over 16 major projects. So if you just average that out, it's 2 million a project. Some of those projects were a little bit larger, some a little bit smaller. But there's other projects that may be $250,000 or $100,000 projects that would be very important to clients. It's not always a multi-million-dollar client. But
Right.
yeah, so grateful to have the experience. And those 16 major projects were spread over 5 different countries. So in those times, I might be the only person in the country. Now, I'm not doing it all myself,
Right.
but again, when you're kind of on your own, so to speak, in that aspect, you learn how to build the team aspect. You're partnering with other, maybe architects or other engineers or consulting firms to make it happen.
Now, when clients engage with project management innovations, what are some of the benefits and value that they're going to get from your organization?
The value that you get with project management innovations is you're going to get a holistic view of your project. You might get the nuts and bolts, the Gantt chart, what's going to happen when, but I look at the value of your project to the business. So it's tied into the business and all the different phases. What do you really want? Are you going to be able to get what you want? You have an idea, but there's a validation process that we go through. And connected with that, there would be stakeholders, your financial capability, the value of your project, the return on investment, the resources, internal, external, and then intangibles, which could be permitting or all the intricacies if you're doing a project in a foreign country. So
Oh,
it's not just the project, it's the project connected with your business and the value of that project to your business.
gotcha. So essentially, you're going to know whether the project's viable even before you break ground. Is that accurate?
Yes. I look at it in this perspective. You're looking at the probability of success. So when you look at your project in that holistic sense over all of those crucial factors, where are you strong? Where are you weak? And knowing where you may have some challenges, what are you going to do to overcome that challenge? And that goes back to your idea, your vision. What are you really going to get? If the challenge is so overwhelming that you're not really going to be able to fulfill your vision, then you have to reevaluate your project. Maybe you're in the wrong location. Maybe it needs to be one county over because of the regulations that are there. But you learn that before you've gone all in, maybe even before you've started your due diligence on the project.
That's awesome. Now, you've been on so many different projects. What are the common challenges that you've mentioned and pitfalls that you see in projects?
Well, I'll go back to those crucial factors and point out some of the issues that are there. On the vision, some entities, businesses, they don't really know what they want. So do you really know what you want? And if you do, is it achievable? And sometimes a project will get started and then it gets hijacked for maybe another purpose, things like that. So it's very important to understand exactly what you want.
Right.
Stakeholders. I've seen many times where businesses will disregard stakeholders. Maybe they don't know who all of their stakeholders are, even if their stakeholder is their major customer. For instance, planning to start a major expansion and not knowing what your customer is doing. There needs to be some synergy there. If you're starting a major project, it needs to be to support your customer. Financial capability, not just not understanding how much money it's going to take, not being able to set a threshold budget, but picking a number. In other words, the company has 5 million to put towards this project, when if you look at the facts before you, it's going to cost 6 million to do it.
Right.
So that can cause a lot of confusion. And then with the finance part is not having a detailed plan as to when I need that money. So I've planned out my Gantt chart, the design that I have, when am I going to need those funds? And then of course, if you get into other countries, then it adds another level of complexity. There must be an assured value. You can call that return on investment for the project. And sometimes that's not clear and it needs to be vetted. One of the bigger ones as well, resources, not knowing the external resources that are going to be necessary to pull in to manage your project. And that goes back, all of these are interrelated. It goes back to the cost. So if you haven't budgeted that external resource and you come to find out you need it, then that's going to be a cost overrun. And that has to be within your not to exceed your ceiling budget. The other thing would be with, let's say, internal resources. Do you have the talented people in your organization to manage the project? And even if they do have the talent to be able to do it, if you task them with the project, maybe make them the project manager, are they going to be able to do their existing role without getting burned out or overwhelmed? Because many times the company is not just on hold, or you don't stop time. You're still operating, you're still producing product, and you can't lose sight or have any quality issues or breakdowns in that operation while you're doing uh, the project. And then you get into intangibles, which could be um, things within the jurisdiction, special building permits, little requirements based on the fire department that's there. Maybe you have a landlord and you need consent from the landlord to be able to do that. Another one that's absolutely crucial would be your occupancy permit. In other words, you have a permit to do your operation, and if you're going to expand within the same space, depending on what you're doing, if it's pharmaceutical, medical device, even food manufacturing, you may not be allowed to do that. So not only do you have to, or you have to stop your current operation to be able to do that. The analogy would be changing a tire on a car while it's still moving. You're going to have to stop the car and change the tire. Now, that doesn't mean you don't do your project. Maybe you have to toll manufacture what you're doing, or maybe you have a sister facility that can pick up the slack, and then you take care of what you need to do and get approved, get your permit approved, and get back operating. So those are some of the major ones. On international, I would say neglecting or not knowing the local laws. Again, you need to find the right resource. It might be legal, it might be environmental, it might be import export. So again, that's where it relates back into the business, is understanding your project from a holistic perspective to meet all of those challenges. So the import export, even if you're buying equipment, that can't be overlooked. I've seen
Right.
companies, they want to take equipment, let's say from their US site, and ship it overseas. That may not be allowed
Right.
because that country wants you to buy new equipment there. That's their expectation. And you're not allowed to import that equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now you've touched on quite a few very important things to be keeping in mind. And that's definitely the benefit that project management innovations would bring, is just those years of experience and understanding the intricacies. Now, I've been called into a couple of projects because of burnout, and that can be really challenging. Can you share with us kind of your insight in terms of issues like scope creep? And you're going into a project, because I've experienced this personally myself, going in and they say, well, this is what we want to accomplish. And then all of a sudden it just starts blossoming from there and becoming unwieldy. So how do you approach that?
Well, the first thing that has to be done, and this would be done in the validation process, and it gets back to your stakeholders and resources. One of the key things within that, if you get into the weeds a little bit, is the approval process for changes. There was one project, we had 320 changes to the project, and so how are those changes managed? Who has the authority to approve the change? Does it have to go up to the CEO of the company, or does the project manager have the ability to make that change? And then what does that change mean, again, to all the other facets of the business? I mean, if it's a different piece of equipment, or the layout is going to change, what does that mean to all the other stakeholders? So having a solid process or change control process for the project is absolutely crucial. Who's calling the shots? how are the changes made? And of course, then all those changes are clearly documented at that point. So you can go back and say, okay, I've seen it. Why did we decide to do this? Oh, it was because of this.
Right.
And so you have a clear chain of all of that information. And those changes could mean drastic things to your architectural design drawings. Or if you made a promise to that landlord that I was going to do this, and then the change happens, and lo and behold, then you've got to go back to the landlord to do that. So things can spiral out of control when you have too many people shooting from the hip on a project. It needs to be clearly managed. And it goes back to that cross-functional team experience or expertise that you bring. So you want, during the project, you want those stakeholders, even if it's your customer, keeping your customer informed on the progress of your project, or if it's your general contractor or the subcontractors or the people that work in the environment, whatever it is, it's communicating clearly with them what's happening and keeping things running smoothly. I heard one person that I respect, an architect, said, you know that a project's running well when there's harmony. Their issues are going to arise, but people don't freak out and go crazy. There's a chain of command. They know who to bring the issue to, and we get it sorted out. And again, at that, maybe the validation or even to the due diligence stage, where your challenges are. This is going to be difficult for all of those people working on the project.
Right. Right. So you're going to be setting up milestones. And I know that communication is a big part of project management. I mean, that's exactly what you were just talking about. What are some of the deliverables that a client would be receiving from project management innovations uh, when they engage with your organization?
Well, they're going to get that validation. We're gonna expose the strengths, the weaknesses of the project, what's going to come up. Um, Project management innovations is a steward, so you can have me executing the project if you want. I can be the project manager, but the key engagement with clients is more on the stewardship. So what does that mean? That means that somebody is involved in the validation, involved in the due diligence, and then if you want, it could be day-to-day or weekly engagement to see, okay, how is the project progressing? So it's a project advisory. That could be reviewing the Gantt chart, looking at, we just talked about those changes that happen. Okay, how many changes were there last week? What does that mean? So you have an extra pair of eyes that's looking in to say, well, you need to take these things into account. And it goes back to having the project run smoothly. One thing I would stress, project management innovations is not necessarily a cost cutting. We are looking at what is the cost going to be? And there's sometimes where this may sound contrarian, but you want to accelerate your project. So there's been several projects I've been involved in. Well, the customer needs to have this operational in September, and the plan was it's going to be in December. So I would bet 99.9% that's not going to reduce the cost of the project. But look at what's necessary. Is it possible to accelerate the project without losing sight of that vision? And then what is that going to cost? Now, if you've done the job properly at the validation stage, you've set that not to exceed budget. So you want to be operating here. And if you get into that point where, hey, I want to push the pedal to the metal and accelerate the project, then I know that I'm going to have the cash available to do that. So it can be done in that manner, but it's stewardship. In other words, it's a partner with the client to make sure that things are running according to plan. They're running according to budget. They're running smoothly or as smoothly as possible, and you're getting your project completed.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that I've been pulled into projects where the end date was, let's say, set up originally for December, and oh no, now we've got to get it done by August. And naturally, that has an impact on resources where you may have to increase resources, which also impacts the budget.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one of my case studies on the website does a deep dive into that on moving operations, where the issue was this was in California, and Caltrans is expanding the interstate.
I'm
And if you didn't have your operation moved by the end of December, then the bulldozers diesel's fired up and it's coming. I'm maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration, but
like
I
a
mean you
freight
had
train.
to get out, and there's sacrifices that were made. There were people, sometimes they take a break between Christmas and New Year's, and there were a team of people that weren't able to do that. They had to fulfill completing that project. So you should know that 6 months in advance. You don't come up to someone on Christmas Eve and say, you're working, next week, because, we have to have you. So it's something that was planned, and many of them were volunteers that were able to do that. So it's the troubleshooting your operation, helping you with a business continuity plan. It could be those type of topics, deciding what key process indicators are working for your business, or maybe there's some process indicators that you haven't thought of, or maybe you need some direction on those. So, process improvement along those lines, and, working with you, and all along, all of any of those positions as a plant manager, operations director, VP of operations, heavily involved in process improvement, continuous improvement, deploying Kaizen techniques. It might be 5S, it might be other aspects. And I can do that as well within, the scope project management innovation, engaging clients.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. You know, anybody out there who has a high at stakeness with a project and they're feeling the lead, a little bit jittery about, embarking on that journey, obviously project management innovations would be a huge partner and take a lot of that fear element, because we do get so uh, overwhelmed when we have to look at what a project needs to be accomplished, and we're not sure if we have the resources, nor do we know that we have the bandwidth. Engaging with your organization and getting that expertise is got to be like gold. Now, you mentioned you've got case studies on the website. How can we get a hold of you at Project Management Innovations if we are kind of, concerned about whether or not we are ready and have the expertise that we need to take on a project larger than what we're maybe familiar with?
Well, there's multiple ways. You can go to my website. My phone number is there. You can call me,
Yep,
text me.
everything down below.
You can leave a message there at the website that'll go to my email address. I post frequently on LinkedIn. Uh, you go to my LinkedIn profile, follow or connect, send me a message, and we'll have a discussion. The project validation or project due diligence, these items are plug and play. It's not like you have to go through the entirety, because maybe you just have a question like on resources, or maybe you have a question, how do I find out about the intangibles, the permits that might be needed? So it can be that kind of discussion, or if you need more help, then it can involve more of the crucial factors.
Excellent. Yeah, projects can be so uh, intricate, and we don't know what we don't know. And that's where the value of connecting with your organization really is going to be of great help. So people can contact you, ask questions, and probably realize that it's going to be their best outcome if they engage you in their project management needs. I would have to say, because I've been there and I've done that, and having worked with you through the years, let me tell you, if you're watching this and you have projects and everything, it seems like everything on our plate today kind of takes on the look of a project, maybe not to the scale that you may need help, but then at some point you're going to be facing a project that is going to really need expertise beyond our experience. And that's when engaging with Karl and Project Management Innovations is going to be a lifesaver in a lot of cases. Karl, thank you so much for joining me today. I always look forward to chatting with you. You've got a plethora of knowledge and you're just so easy to work with. I just want to say thanks for accepting my invitation to be on this episode of Insights.
My pleasure, Dave. Look forward to working with you again as well.
Absolutely. And onward we go. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next episode of Insights.